Hi, this is Sandhya Sabu. Today we are going to see about the basic concepts of OOPS in C++. So this is the introduction. So C++, as we know, it is a object-oriented programming language. It is developed by John Strostrup. So it is also an extension. It is an extension of C language. So here in C++, it is considered as a cross-platform language because here we can view it can be used to create high-performance applications. So here are some of the advantages of C++. So first one is C++ is the most popular programming languages. It is a graphical, it can be found in graphical user interface. It is an object-oriented programming languages. It is a portable language. It can be used in any platforms and it is easy to learn. So next, what is the key concept of object-oriented programming? So when we come to object-oriented programming, we will be using classes and objects to function. So here we will learn so many concepts like inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation. So we are going to see the list of object-oriented programming concepts. So first one is class, objects, encapsulation, polymorphism, inheritance, abstraction, dynamic binding, and message passing. So what is a class? A class is nothing but it is also a data type. It has data members and member functions for which we are going to do some process. So class is considered as a blueprint of a programming language. So it is the basic building block of a programming language. So when we consider C, as I said, C++ is a data type. So it is considered as a user-defined data type. So here is the syntax of class. So what is the syntax of class? We have to mention the class keyword class followed by the class name. Within the curly braces, we have to specify what are the data members we are going to use and what are the member functions that we are going to use inside a classroom. Next one is object. Object is nothing but an instance of a class. So with the help of an object, we can access the members inside the class. So the class object is the one who helps us to access the things inside the class without any restrictions. So here we will be using some data access specifiers like public, private, protected. So with the help of those specifiers only, an object can access that data inside a class. So next comes the encapsulation. Encapsulation is nothing but wrapping up of data and information together in a single unit as we do in a class. So in class, as I said, we will have data members and member functions. So for example, if I'm just creating a class called student, so what are the data members I will be using? For example, I will be getting details of student name, student contact number, student address, and student age. Like this, I will be getting some informations from the student, and based on these data which I have gathered, I will be performing some functions like for making an admission and sending students details to the university and creating a database along with the help of all the students data. So like this I will be doing some work, so these works are called as member functions. So those are datas and the member functions will be wrapped inside a class. So that is the concept of encapsulation. Next comes a polymorphism. As the name indicates, polymorphism means multiple forms. So multiples are one when a single person can take multiple forms, that is called as polymorphism. We have two types of polymorphism. One is compile time and runtime. So this polymorphism is achieved through operator overloading and function overloading. So here, since we are just learning what are the basic concepts and we are not getting interior into those concepts, so we are just seeing what is what. Our next one is inheritance. Inheritance is nothing but the capability of one class to inherit the capability of another class. So for example, class A inherits the properties of class B. It means class A will have the accessibility to get information from class B with some restrictions. That is what I said before, using access specifiers public, private, protected. So with those restrictions, it can access, class A can access information from class B when it is needed. So the basic idea of inheritance depends upon the idea of reuse. Okay, so in inheritance we will have classes called base class, parent class, and a child class, subclass. So the class which is going to give the properties is called as base class or parent class, and the class which is going to get the properties, which derives the properties from another class, is termed as child class or subclass. Next comes the concept abstraction. So abstraction is also known as data hiding. So here, whenever we need to hide some data from the outside world, right? So those types of information will be hidden in in this concept called abstraction. Okay, next one is dynamic binding. So as I said earlier, in class we will be having both data members and member functions. So what are the things, what are the, for example, when a function is called in a main program, main function. So if a function is called, so the compiler will check where the function is defined. So whenever we, instead of the searching time, when dynamic binding, what happens is the function coding and what are the data is needed for the function to process, all those things comes and gathers in a single place. That is called as dynamic binding. Next one is message passing. So here, with the help of objects, we can send and receive informations to one another. Next one is standard input and output. So when it comes to a C++ programming language, we will be using cout and cin statements. So cout statement is called as print statement. It helps us to display the informations in the screen, whereas the cin statement is a term is used to read the values, that is used to get the values from the user. So these both the cout statement and cin statement comes under the header file called iostream.h. Next one is how to declare a variable. So as we know, variable is also known as identifiers. So variable is nothing but a placeholder for the values which we are going to use in our program. So for example, here I have given as a int a, float, pi. That is, int is a data type. We have to specify the type of data followed by the variable name, semicolon. So in C++, whenever a line is ended, we will be identifying with the help of semicolon. Okay. So here we have two variables called a and pi, and a is of a variable type integer, and pi is of variable data type float. So tokens. So here is a diagram, token. So token uh, uh, constitutes keywords, operators, identifiers, special symbols, strings, constants. All those things comes under the category of token. So what is token? Token is nothing but smallest building block of a program. For example, if you are writing a 4 lines program, for example, if you are going to write a program to print hello. So what are the things you will be writing? We will be writing in a coding. First, you will be declaring an header file, iostream.h, cornou.h, followed by the void main. In void main, you will be giving calling the clear screen function, and then followed by a printing statement, that is a cout statement. Within double quotes we will be mentioning hello, then followed by get ch, and we will be ending with the curly braces. So these are the things these are the things that we use to write a simple hello program, to display a simple hello program. Same way, so what are those things? So whatever the things I have used to write this program, for example, header file, void main function, curly braces, printing statement, clear screen function, get ch function, all those things comes under the category of tokens. So that's why token is considered as the smallest building block of a C++ program. So here next comes the data types. So what are the data types we have in C++? So we have three types of, that is, one is a primary, derived, and user defined. So here you just user defined is class structure, union, enum, type def. So we know we have just learned what is class, union, enum, type def. So union structures are all same, and enum is we are going to list we are going to create a list. Okay, same way derive in primary data types. So here our primary data types is integer, character, boolean, floating, double, void, and white character. So next one is derived. So derived comes from the derived constitutes function, array, pointer, and reference. So these are some of the data types that we have in C++ programming languages. Next one is operators. So here is the list of operators we have in C++: unary, arithmetic, relational, logical, bitwise, assignment, and ternary. So there's a unary operator comes under the category of unary, and arithmetic, relational, logical, and bitwise, assignment, all this comes under binary operator because they use two operands. So what are the operands? Operands is nothing but the variables that we use in an expression. So this the when an operator uses two operands, that is two variables, then it comes under the category of binary operator. And here last comes question mark followed by colon symbol. This is called as conditional operator, ternary operator, because it takes three values. That's why it is called as ternary operator. Next comes the concept of control structures. So control structures, as the name suggests, it is going to control something. So it is going to control the flow of the program. So we have three types of control structures in our programming language. One is sequence, selection, and looping statement. So sequence structure is nothing but it follows a straight line. It follows a direct where it follows the direct way of executing the program codings. And selection structure, they based on some conditions, it will select which way to follow. And next, third one is looping structure. So looping structures also based on a condition, it is going to do some process but on a repeated mode. So that's why it is called as loop structure. So the most basic thing in a selection structure is if and if else statement. So if statement is going to do what is, if based on a condition, it is going to execute some statement. So if the condition is false, it will leave that statement. Okay, so it will it will leave that and it will continue to do it work, to do it to do the work continuously. Okay, so if statement is nothing but a based on a condition. If the condition true, it is going to do something. Otherwise, it will leave and it will continue to do whatever it is going in a routine manner. Okay. So next one is if-else statement. So if-else statement is a two-way statement. We can say like that. So in if-else statement, when the condition is true, it is going to follow one way. If it is false, it is going to follow another way. That's why it is called a two-way statement. So next, third one is switch statement. Switch statement is a multi-branching control statement. Why we call it as multi-branching? Because in switch statement also we will be executing, we will be processing an expression. So based on the expression, if the expression comes true, we will be, it is called as, I forgot to say, it is also called as multi-way statement. Because as I said in a previous example, if else statement, if the condition is true, it is going to follow one way. If the condition is false, it is going to follow another way. So it is going to follow two ways based on the condition, right? Same way here in switch statement, we will be having multiple ways. So it will start from one and it will end with n. Okay, so if none of the condition is true, if none of the cases matches with my expression, so I will be following some default way. So that's why it is called as multi-branching statement. So here in the syntax itself, we can see case value one. If the case value one matches with the expression, then it is going to execute statement one. If statement one and statement two, and it will ends its work. If the case value two matches with the expression, then it is going to execute some sort of statements. If none of the statements matches with the expression, then it will be executing the statements associated with the default block. That's it. So that's why switch statement is called as multi-branching statement. Next comes the concept of loops. So loops, as I said, it is going to continuously, repeatedly do some process. So we have two types of loops here. One is entry control loop and another is exit control loop. So we have three types of looping statements. One is for, by, and do while. So this for loop and while loop comes under the category of entry control loop, because before entering into the loop, what it does, it checks for the condition. If the condition is true only, it is going to execute the process in a continuous manner, that is for some repeated number of times. That is the given number of time, for given number of times it is going to repeat the process. Whereas in exit control loop, that is the do while statement, what it does without any restrictions, first it will do it work, but at least once it will do it work. Once at one point, once it completes its works at one routine, like that, then what it does, it will check for the condition. After completing the work only, it is going to check for a condition. At that point, if the condition is true, it will continue its work. Otherwise, it will exit from the loop. That's why it is called as exit control loop. At the time of exit only, it is going to check that work. So it is going to check the condition. Whereas in entry control loop, that is in for loop and while loop, before entering into the loop itself, they will be checking for the expression. So here is the syntax for while, for, and do while. So for it has three parts. One is initialization, condition, and updation. So initialization part, we will be declaring the values with the initial values, and based on the condition. So what are the conditions we are going to, based on the condition, what you are going to execute. So that condition will be mentioned here. And updation is, it can be either a decrement or increment operator. So in for loop, once with the help of initial values, it will check for the condition, and it will execute. If the condition is true, it will execute the process. That is the statements that are associated with for loop will be executed. And again, to do the process repeatedly, it will go for updation. Whereas the next while loop condition, here also, what it does is, the first it will check for the condition, and then it will execute the process associated with a while statement and do the updation later, and then it follows the next, again it will go and check for the condition. Whereas in do while loop, first it will do the process and then it checks for the condition. Next comes the concept of C++ functions. So what is function? Function is nothing but a piece of code that is separated from a main program. So what is the main uh, goal of creating a function is to reuse the code as and when needed. So we have two types of functions. One is standard library functions that are predefined in our C++ language. So as I said earlier, we will be calling CLR, SCR, clear screen function, get search function. So these functions are predefined functions, that comes under the category of standard library functions. And user defined function, that is created by us, that is users. So what is the syntax of function? So first, if that is not, this is not for predefined functions. This syntax is only for user defined functions. So first we have to mention the return type, that is an integer, float, void, whatever it is, followed by the function name, and we have to mention the parameter list that we are going to use, and followed by the body of the function. So here is an example program. So here in this program, we are going to display two values, that is two numbers. So here we have in comment, we have given three parts. One is function prototype, function call, and function definition. So when it comes to function has three parts: function prototype, function call, and function definition. So here is an example. So what is the function prototype? Void display int flow int comma float. So just we are just mentioning what is the type of function I'm going to use, what is the name of the function, and what are the parameters that I'm going to use, what type of parameters I'm going to use. So this is a initial stage intimation to the compiler that I am going to use such type of things in my program. This is called as function prototype. So next comes under void main function. So in void main function, we have declared two numbers, int num1 equal to 5 and int num2 equal to 5.5. So now we have called a display function. So this is called for the function call. So usually function call will be inside a main function. Okay. When a function call is identified, it goes to the compiler will check where the function definition is mentioned. So it goes to the function definition. In function definition, we have given the function definition with the proper values that we are going to use in our program. So we have given int n1. We have given mentioned the variable names also your float n2. So what is the process it is going to do? That is, it is going to display by using cout statement both the integer and floating point numbers. Next is how to call a function. So in previous example, I said we are going to call a function. So how a function is called? So a function can be invoked. The function call is called as termed as invoke in C programming languages. So we are going to invoke a function using two methods. One is call by value and call by reference. So this call by value and call by reference, as the name suggests, call by value, it so call by value, what it does, it creates a copy of the values of what we have done. So for example, if I just declared a variable called a equal to 5, then it creates a copy of a, that is a equal to 5 in some other memory location. And what are the process that we are going to carry out in future will be done only to the copy of the variable, not on the original thing. So what are the changes that we are going to do will be reflected only in the copy, not in the original data. So that is called as call by value method. So we can see an example here. So see here example. First, I've declared a variable with the value 5. So the original value is 5. Next, using change function, what I have done, I've changed the value of a variable as 20. So now I asked it to return a. So what it does, values change in the memory to the copy of the variable. So even after this change function is executed, the value after function changes same 5. So the original value remains the same, only the changes will be made in the copies. Next one is call by reference. So unlike a call by value, call by reference method, what it does means it always works on the original data. It will not create any copy here. So see an example here, void swap. So swap means it is going to interchange the values here. So we have, as I said, interchange means we at least we need two data, right? So I have given two data X and Y. So it is a call by, since it is a call by reference. Reference means we are going to refer to the original variables. So we have given it as, so mention it as ampersand x and ampersand y. So we have created a temporary memory space where I've just moved my x value to the temporary, and then then my x variable space will be empty. Then I can store my y values, and now y value will be empty. So whatever the value I have stored in temporary will be move to the y, and temporary work is over, we can remove that temporary. So x and y values are interchanged. So this is how the call by reference method. So call by reference, how can I identify it is called by reference? Using this ampersand symbol. So whenever I have declared a variable with the help of ampersand symbol, that is by reference method. Okay. Next one is inline function. So what is inline function? So inline function also acts like a normal function, but what is the difference is the difference in the execution time, processing time. So whenever we call a function, what it happens, a compiler will go and search where the function is defined, and then it goes there and it will execute the process. So whereas if I mention a function as inline, so using the keyword inline, I can declare a function, define a function as inline function. So see the example, int max I've declared. So we are going to return which is the maximum value of the by comparing two values. So I've given this, I have declared this function as inline function. So whenever I call this function, what happens, all the coding itself comes and waits for the function call. So compiler knows, if the compiler comes and checks for the function call, if it comes function call, the compiler does not need to go and search where is the function definition is given. So function definition automatically comes to the function call. So that is the main advantage of this inline function. Next one is class. So already I've said you I've given so much explanations for class. So class will contain data members and member functions. So these data members and member functions will be accessed only through some access specifiers I have mentioned earlier, that is private, public, and protected. So object also we have learned. So what is the way of how to declare an object? So this is the syntax for declaring an object. So we have to mention the class name followed by the object name. We can create so many objects for a single class. There is no restriction to create that we should create only one class, that we sorry that we should create only one object, two object. We can create as many objects we needed. Okay. Next one is constructor. This constructor is also a member function. Well, that is member functions. The function that is defined or declared inside a class is called as member function, right? So this constructor is also declared inside a class, defined inside a class, but it is it has some privileges. What is that privilege? It is considered as a special member function because it does not, whenever we are going to create a define a member function inside a class or outside a class, we have to mention the return type of the member function. But constructor doesn't need it because constructor as the name of the class itself. So constructor as the for example, if I have a class student, then my constructor name is also a student. So what is the main work of constructor? Constructor will automatically call when an object is created. Okay, so we as a no in a normal program, there is no need to create definitions for constructor, but when it is needed, we can use constructors in our program. So constructor is, or whenever even if we define it or not, what it will do automatically, it will do its work. So constructor is the most responsible person in a C++ programming language. So here is the syntax for class, sorry, for constructor. So class name, list of parameters followed by the coding, which are processing steps. And if I'm going to define it outside a class, so I have to mention my class name followed by the scope resolution operator. Again, the class name followed by the list of parameters and function constructor definition. So we have three types of constructors in C++: default, parameterized, and copy constructor. So default constructor does not contain any parameters inside it. So we will be initializing default values, and parameterized constructors, we will be assigning some new values to the data members. And copy constructors, what it does, if for copy constructor, we should have at least either default or parameterized constructors in our program. Then only we can use copy constructor. So the copy constructor copies the constructor which we have declared, which we have defined before. Then it will do its work. So see, here is an example of class construct. So construct is our class name. So my constructor name is also constructor. So first one is a default constructor because we have given, it does not contains any parameters here. So we have given two default values, a value as 10 and b value as 20. And next, another constructor is point. So here I've given two values, that is x1 and y1, and copy constructor. So copy constructor, see, it takes the reference of the object. So I should pass the object as a reference to the copy constructor. Next one is descriptor. Who is this descriptor? So descriptor is also some special member function. What it does, it whenever functions or variables work over, it is going to clean that space. So that is the work of destructor. So how can I identify a destructor is using this tilde symbol. So this with whenever the class name is presided by this tilde symbol, it is considered as destructor. So we no need to call this destructor automatically. Destructor, what it does, when functions or particular code work is over, it will automatically use the memory space. So here is the list of some properties of a destructor. So what is what a destructor is? Automatically called when an objects, when there is need to objects to destroy the objects, it can then we don't need to there is no need to specify parameters for the destructors. It does not have any return type, so it should be declared only in the public section of the class. Next one is the new concept called singleton class. So as I said earlier, when it comes to the concept of object, we can create as many as objects for a class. But a singleton class have some restriction, like that we can create only one object, that is one instance at a time. Okay, so what are the steps to implement the singleton class in C++? First, we should make all the constructors of the class as private. So usually we will be declaring or defining constructors in public section. But to make it a singleton class, we have to declare it in a private space, and then we should not use any copy constructor, and then we should make a private static pointer that can point to the same class of the object, and we should use a public static method that returns the pointer to the same class object. Next comes the concept called friend class. So what is the work of my friend? What is the work of your friend? He or she will do? He or she will access the things without any uh, restrictions, right? So say the same comes with the help of friend class. So friend class can access both private and protected members, because we know that we can easily access the public data members without public member functions, but we have some restrictions on private and protected members. So there will be some situations where we need to access those private and protected members of the class. So at that time we can use this friend class. Okay, so this friend class, see the syntax of friend class. So before the class name, that is class class name, which should be presided by friend, keyword friend. So here is an example: class geeks. Class geeks has a friend class called GFG. So we are just going to declare so the friend class in another class, and the definition should be given separately. Okay, so these are the things which we have listed. So what are the things we have learned today is what are the basic concepts of OOPS. So we have learned 6 basic concepts, and followed by the data types and tokens, and how to declare a variable, and constructor, destructor, singleton class, followed by inline functions, and what are the three parts of a function, how to call a function, that is either to use a call by method or to use call by value method. And at last, we have also learned friend function. So thank you.